there have been this instance of like fighters creating fake records as well. So there have been I've been hearing some stories like people go to certain events, they just simply pose for the photos so that they can update the record somewhere. So will that take them anywhere, first of all? And secondly, as a fighter who have been working it out, how does that make you feel, seeing someone getting a record for not even fighting somewhere? Like, how does that make you feel?
See, you can get very emotional about it, you can get very angry about it, but there's no use because these people are going to do what they have to do. Um, First of all, they're not going to get very far because any promotion that knows what they're doing will check whether the opponents that they faced have been legitimate, whether the fights that they've had have been full 5 minute rounds of 3 5 minute rounds. You know, basic credentials, uh, tapology also corroborates these details with each MMA federation that sets up these different tournaments or sets up these different promotions. But if you're fighting for one of those promotions that doesn't care and just accepts your record, your record as is, um, you're probably fighting for the wrong promotion, man. And you're probably not gonna get paid as much. And if money is your goal, which is why you're probably doing something so shitty and so dirty, you're not gonna get very far. Because the good thing about our sport is that it's a very honest sport. Not in the most political sense of the sport, but uh, your true colors come out in the cage. You can't fake that shit. Tomorrow, these guys that are putting out fake records, you and I both know who we're talking about, right? You and I both know that these guys are not going to get very far because when they start to face stiff, real competition, that they're not going to get very far in the fight because they've never truly been tested. There are guys that are 5-0, 5-0, 6-0, whatever you want, like whatever good padded records these guys have. It is a little infuriating to me, no doubt, but there's very little I can do about it because if that dishonest way is what they choose to conduct their careers in, is the way that they choose, that's on them, and it's going to catch up with them eventually. So my only point with that is that you have to sit back and watch the fun. Watch as these guys dismantle their own careers because sooner or later they get too big for their own britches and they get matched up against an opponent that they really shouldn't be fighting. So many guys that just want to call their shot, ask for money. And like I said, it's entitlement. At the beginning of this conversation, I said it's a sense of entitlement that these fighters have, where you go shake a few hands, kiss a few asses, smile for a few pictures, and you think that that's what gets you ahead in fighting. No, at the end of the day, you have to fight in that cage. You have to prove yourself, and your skills have to speak for themselves. Because you can talk, you can text Dana White and tell him to give you a shot as much as you want. You're not getting that shot till you deserve it, my friend. The UFC filters out the best of the best of the best of the best athletes in the world. It's the 1% of the 1%. So if you think you're making it to the UFC, if you think you're making it to the UFC on a padded record, you may get to the UFC, but when you get there, even if the UFC bestows you with that shot, when you get there, you are going to be exposed in front of the whole world. And that's not somewhere you want to be. Because doing it in front of your own country is one thing, but doing it in front of the whole world is a whole different ballgame. I'll tell you that because I went for the World Championships and it is not fun losing at the World Championships. Because about 1,500 different cameras pick the same thing up. It's not the most fun thing to go through. But especially if you do that, and it puts a very bad taste in the mouth of promotions in terms of Indian fighters as well. Where they see Indian fighters doing this, and it's not just Indian fighters. I mean, a lot of other countries' fighters do this. But MMA is an already developing sport in a developing country, and its place in the sports spectrum in India is very fragile already. So every small thing, every big thing that happens in the sport, in combat sports in general, is taking us 10 steps forward, but also at the same time, it will take us 10 steps back or maybe 20 steps back at the same time. You know what I mean? Like you can have a fantastic show like MFN 9 and have it take us to whatever level you want to take us. But then you can have what happened at that afterwards, the brawl afterwards, and it can take us 20 steps back. And when I say that, I'm talking about it in terms of how well the Indian athletes conducted themselves, which is why the sport is still here. Because whether you want to accept it or not, MFN is the cream of the crop. It is the UFC of India. It is where the 1% of the best fighters go there. And I can tell you that because I've trained with those guys at Warriors School, at Team Relentless as well. I've seen a lot of these guys. I've seen the kind of work they put in. So when I talk about the 1% of the 1% of fighters in India going to MFN, That's the Shark Tank of the best athletes in India. Not just fighters, athletes, period.